World champion Domaraju Gukesh takes on Deac Bogdan Daniel. He is taking on the Romanian top GM at the third round of the Superbet Chess Classic 2025. And Gukesh has had two draws until this point. We have the guest of honor for the round, Ion Endon. He is a football coach and he's going to make the first move. And the move he plays is CD3. And that's the reason why the players have a smile on their face, because yes, the pawns capture that way, but they do not move that way. Gukesh quickly brings his pawn back to C2. Deac has had a very interesting tournament. He beat Levon Aronian in the previous round. Before that, he lost to Wesley. So he has had a very combative first two rounds, and now in the third round he's taking on the world champion in front of his home crowd. It's going to be very exciting. Gukesh with the white pieces. We are ready to go. A handshake and boom. Gukesh opens the game with knight to f3, and Deac instantly pushes his pawn to d5. And what is Gukesh's next move going to be? d4? No, he goes b3. Wow, that's an interesting choice by Gukesh. I think he's just taking it like his opponent is very good theoretical player, and maybe this b3 system would catch him a bit off guard. So the knight comes out to f6. You play your bishop to b2. You can see how the bishop is well placed on this diagonal. The knight controls the central squares, and Deac very solidly pushes his pawn to e6. Would like to get his bishop out next and then short castle. It would be interesting to see how Gukesh places his three central pawns. Does he touch them? Does he start with the second fianchetto? No, he goes e3. It's a very logical move. He opens up the bishop here. Later on, he may want to push his pawn to d4. The other pawn could move to c4. Bishop comes out to d6. And that's a nice square for the bishop. And Gukesh pushes his pawn to c4. With this move, Gukesh claims some space in the center. Also could take on d5 at the right time. Also can bring his knight out to c3 to even further pressurize the d5 point. And knight c6, a very surprising decision from Deac. That too, he took good around 15 to 20 minutes for this move. And maybe he's just angling for e5, and Gukesh simply goes d4, asking a question to Deac that, hey, I feel like the knight on c6 is a bit misplaced. And Deac now castles here. Gukesh can play his knight to d2, just developing his piece, controlling the central square here on e4. The bishop can come out to d3. Short castle is in the air. Pawn to b6. Deac wants to put his bishop on this long diagonal, and also makes sense. Just that this knight on e6 needs to move at some point. Okay, bishop e2 played here by Gukesh. He's being very cautious here in his opening play. So both players, the amount of time they are using in the opening is quite huge. Like, look at Deac's time, 56 minutes. Gukesh has 1 hour, 1 minute. So they have already used more than an hour to reach this position. And now Gukesh simply short castles here. Black can go queen e7 now, just connecting the rooks. Seems like a possible move. Yes, he plays his queen to e7. Now that Gukesh has developed all his pieces and also castled, what does he do next? First, he brings his rook to c1. That's a very natural move, because at any point, white can take on d5 and open up his rook on the c file. Deac plays his rook to d8, putting pressure on the d file. And now Gukesh uses an extra tempo to move his already developed bishop to a good square, because the plans that he has in mind are related to knight e5 and f4. But knight b8, wow, that's a very interesting move by Deac. He wants to play c5, so he goes back. It feels like this Breyer system in the Ruy Lopez, where you get your bishop knight back to b8 to get it to d7. Pawn takes pawn here by Gukesh. It's a good move, and it'll close down the bishop. Pawn takes pawn, and now the knight settles down on the central square defended by the bishop on b2. Deac plays his pawn to the center with c5, and he's going to bring his knight to d7 to challenge the knight on e5. But Gukesh is creating a very strong hold in the center with f4. The game is getting very exciting now. Knight to d7 played. And now you have queen f3 to h3 as a plan. Gukesh finds it. Queen to f3, because if knight e4, I can simply take and take. So the e4 square is now off bounds. Look at Deac's time. He's down to 19 minutes. They have to make 25 more moves to reach move number 40, where they would get an additional 30 minutes. And now Gukesh can already start pushing his kingside pawns. He goes queen h3. His pieces are lined up here, but more importantly, he's making square for the knight to come to f3. Rook c8, not particularly a great move. It does look a natural move, but look at this now. Gukesh can bring his knight to f3, which he does. His knight is well positioned here. This knight can jump to h4 to threaten to come to f5, and if you push your pawn, you make all the dark squares weak on this long diagonal. The knight can jump back. A knight jumps to e4 here into the center of the board. And now this move, knight h4, is an absolutely strong and stunning move coming into the f5 square. And Gukesh, who has 21 minutes on the clock, takes just 30 seconds or 40 seconds to find this move. Well done. Gukesh is now close to having a decisive edge in the position. So all his pieces are doing so well. Meanwhile, Deac, not only a bad position but also low on time. How does he wriggle out of this mess? He plays queen e6, offering a queen trade. Okay, if you trade the queens, black should be completely fine. So Gukesh here goes knight to f5, which is the best move. He plays this here, and the idea now is knight g4. Oh, he takes. And look at this move, guys. Knight g4. Isn't that an incredible move? The point being, if you play here, I have an amazing queen h6 threatening a mate here with the two knights standing. But Gukesh takes back with the bishop. Not a bad idea. Not a bad plan. It takes on e5. And now important here, maybe to take back with the pawn. It's an important move to keep the rook open on the f file, but Gukesh takes it with the bishop. And yes, that keeps his structure better, but on the other hand, f6 is going to limit the black bishop considerably here. So fe5 would have given white great chances here to play for the full point, but it required more time. It was a much more complex decision, and Gukesh, who's down to 12 minutes now, cannot take that decision with such little time. f6 played. The bishop comes back to b2. In some ways, black's position has improved drastically. Deac, who has now 4 minutes to make 18 moves, of course is still under a lot of pressure, but he would be able to survive this, I believe. Bishop c8, excellent move. Attacking here, you can't take. Rook takes, check, queen takes and take here because of knight c5 attacking the bishop and e3 pawn. So that's the reason why g4 is played by Gukesh. g6 would not be a great idea because of knight h6 check. And so queen goes back to f7 is what Deac does. He plays his queen here. He doesn't leave it quickly. Now he leaves it 2 minutes 30 seconds for Deac. Gukesh comes back with his knight to d4, eyeing the weakened c6 square. Also, the e6 square is a bit weak. White still keeping good chances here to fight for the full point. He plays his knight to e6, again trading. But 1 minute 13 seconds, Gukesh jumps in with the knight, attacking the rook here on d8. The rook has to move away. Maybe rook e8 is the right move here. Yes, he plays his rook to e8. And now, how do you create something more in this position? It seems like white pieces are well placed. Somewhere you want g5 to open up this bishop further. b4 played by Gukesh. He's playing on the other side of the board. Also taking away the c5 square from both the knights. That's very interesting. a5 played by Deac. Okay, I believe a3 makes a lot of sense. But Gukesh takes. And by the way, a5 is such a intuitive decision with just a minute on the clock, where you give up your pawn. ba. And now why not take here? Like take, the point is knight takes f4, e takes f4 and check here, and then there is problem, queen gets in. So that's the reason why Gukesh goes bishop a3, bishop comes to d7, and now the path to the queen is a7 is stopped. So why not take this? Yes, he takes on a5. Gukesh is now a pawn up, although the engines did not like that decision at all. The rook can now move to a8, and that's what Deac does. Gukesh quickly plays bishop b4. Gukesh has 6 minutes on the clock. He's kept a lead on time. 9 more moves to make before you reach move number 40. Deac is a phenomenal player under time pressure. The question then is, why does he get so much into time pressure when he can play so well with limited time? de taken. And now this move is something that the engines love since a long time, to trade queens with this structure, and you're a pawn up here. But Gukesh goes queen g2, a very natural move, looking at the e4 square. And now Deac brings his knight back to d8. And the knight maybe could come to f7. The pawn is defended. This pawn is attacked. Oh, Gukesh comes up attacking the pawn here. Very interesting move. And Deac is ready with the move rook c8. The point being that if you take here, then I have check, king f2 and a check, where you are in trouble. So Gukesh prefers to not go for this line. He plays h3. But that move in some ways does lead to a position that is not that great. Now knight d6 is a threat. Gukesh has an extra pawn, but it's opposite colored bishops. And queen e6 is a great move, attacking the knight. And knight jumps to d6. e4 pawn under pressure. Deac has this habit of getting up after every move, even if he has just 30 seconds left on the clock. Knight f7, I like this decision. Knight e4 gets into trouble because of this. And if you take queen e4, then a2 is also hanging. So knight f7, knight f5. Deac plays his queen to c4. Another beautiful move by him. He's now eyeing this position. By the way, Gukesh gives a check. Move number 39. Both players in big time trouble here, but will reach move 40 and get 30 extra minutes. And now Gukesh brings his queen to d2. With this, he defends e3, bishop and a2. So his queen is well positioned. Final move for Deac before time control. And he plays bishop b5, a fantastic move. threatening queen f1 check. Both players get extra 30 minutes on the clock. Gukesh comes back after having his customary snack after move 40 and now trying to figure out what should be his next decision. He goes king h2. And pawn comes up to h5. That's a great move by Deac. Again, the way in which he's playing this is so inspiring because he was in big trouble, and from that he's now started pressing. He's 2 pawns down, but he understands that his control on light squares is supreme, and now the knight comes to h6. So the white knight is a bit tied up with the f5 square. You know, you've also opened up this d8 square, but there's no mate because queen g8, there is queen c4 standing here. So a3 played by Gukesh. You know, Gukesh is hoping for the queen to move away so that this could end in a mate. Bishop e8, that's a great move, attacking h5. And while Gukesh has extra material, the pieces that he has, especially this bishop, is doing nothing. Meanwhile, the black bishop is doing quite a lot. And now Deac has to find this move. He plays king h7. This is a great move because now knight g6 does not fall with a check. So king h7, king comes to g2. And queen jumps in to a2 with a check here. Where will the white king move? It can go back. It can go up. King g3 played. And Deac is now thinking about what his next move ought to be. He goes queen to b2. The queen is well positioned now. You can see here how the queen is fantastically placed. And also the knight is tied down because of knight f5 checks. So queen d5 played. Interesting move by Gukesh. I don't know if he's threatening anything particular, especially maybe he's threatening the d5 e4 pawn. So queen b1 defending the pawn here and threatening a check. And now Gukesh is down to a minute on the clock. He has used his time not so well. Time is running down. Deac on 11 minutes. Gukesh goes king h2. The position is still equal, but it's getting very, very tense here. Bishop f7, queen to c5 played. Still equal. And now queen to d1 played. It's a very nice move again because check, and later you want to also win this pawn. Gukesh goes queen d4, offering a queen trade. Well, he's hoping that he takes on h5 so that he can win the e4 pawn. And of course, trading the queens is just very good for white. But for Deac, queen e2 check is a great move. He finds it. Check, king g1, and now queen f3, keeping the tension, defending the pawn. Yes, he finds it again. And the tension in the position growing. Gukesh, 1 minute, has to find this very tough move. Bishop e1. Finds it. Bishop e1 found. Very important move because this was a check that had to be stopped. But Deac now finds another fine move. Bishop e6, threatening bishop h3 and a mate here. 2 minutes to Deac, 30 seconds for Gukesh. He plays queen d2. Not a great move. The best move here was f5, sacrificing the pawn, but how to find that? And now queen takes h3, very important move. Because if you play bishop takes, I have queen f2, offering a trade of queens, which is good for white, better than the game. That queen h3 is the best possible move here, and Deac finds it. Oh, he finds this move again. He's playing some amazing chess. Now the knight could jump in. The bishop could come in. And Gukesh is in big trouble here. He goes knight g6. He's hoping to create this mating net with queen d8 and queen h8. That's his hope. For Deac, the right move is bishop c4. No, but he blunders with bishop f7. Imagine if he had played bishop c4. The game was done here. He was in big trouble. Queen f1 coming in and so on. The queen can't come to g2. e3 is hanging. So bishop f7 played. And now Gukesh gets a life here. Because now knight f8 check followed by queen d8. There's no mate to the white king, and I'm just using my knight and queen to launch a huge attack with Gukesh having less than few seconds on the clock. 19, 18, he goes knight f8 check with just 9 seconds on the clock. Well, Deac has to move his king now. He goes king g8 and queen d8 now. Oh, he comes back knight g6. That's a good move also. Because he's threatening queen d8 to h8. Queen g4 played. And once again, an important moment. You have to find king f2. He finds it. It's a good move by Gukesh. He's hanging in there, fighting in. Queen takes h5 played. But now the game is drawn because of check, king h7 and knight f8. Gukesh finds it. A check, king h7. Check again. Gukesh gives a check. King g8. Knight g8 check. King goes up. And another check comes in. And this is now a threefold repetition. The players have hit move number 60. Check again. And there's nothing that white can do to keep the game going. There's nothing that Deac can do to keep the game going. The arbiter is called here by Gukesh, who says it's a threefold repetition here. And the players have agreed to a draw. Wow, what a game this was. And Gukesh was better than winning, handshake, and at some point he was also losing. A topsy-turvy encounter. The world champion still searching for his first win at the Superbet Chess Classic here in Romania. Not easy this tournament to score a win. Today he was close. He was also close against Pragnananda, but he's been unable to finish off his games. But I'm sure that he'll make a very strong comeback in round 4. He will be facing Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. But for now, great play by Deac. I absolutely enjoy watching him play in time pressure, because that is when he unleashes his true power. For now, this is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye-bye.